everybody, welcome. It's your 28th Health Hack, and we're coming live to you from Health From Within Family Wellness Center. And today we're going to be talking about subluxation and how has your medication become like a chemical or a medication, right? So how has your supplement or what you're taking from a nutritional standpoint, how has that become like a medication, okay? So I want to cover that today. We also want to cover what a subluxation is, what it isn't, because those are important things that I think people need to understand. So a lot of docs out there, and I was just talking to a patient about it literally 5 minutes ago, what they're doing is just treating the body for symptoms. They're treating the body for pain. And this patient asked me, she's like, well, I don't understand why chiropractors aren't really doing what you guys are doing. Like, I don't understand. I went through I went through the phone book and I went looking around and I asked my friends, and they're all going to these guys that are like just treating pain and treating symptoms, and they're not really helping people, and they don't even talk about subluxation. So what is a subluxation? Well, it's an interference in the intelligence from the brain down the spinal cord and out to the organs. It's thoughts, traumas, and toxins that add up where they take the body out of homeostasis. And what does the body do as a reaction to that? Well, we start to see an interference in the life flow or the electrical signals from the brain to the cord to the organ. So that puts the organ in a state of what? Dysfunction. And if that organ's in a state of dysfunction, is it fair to say that that body's going to eventually be in ease? Or if there's a disconnect in that body or that system, what's that body going to turn into? Well, the opposite of ease, which is disease. So when that's going on, the organ is going to be in a state of disease or dysfunction. So then it's fair to say that the cells within that organ are going to be what? Healthy or sick? Sick, of course, right? So that's what happens. That's kind of the full-fledged process, the whole process of a subluxation. And so it's nerve interference. Do we see a hard bone moving out of place? Do we see a compression on a nerve? Absolutely. And that process happens over time. And so at Health From Within, we're looking at the body chemically, physically, and emotionally for only one reason. We're looking at the system to see where there are blockages in the nervous system. Now, do we do different techniques and modalities here and stuff like that? Absolutely. Do we do curve correction here? Absolutely. But is it possible for a person to have a perfect 31, 42, and 0 millimeter curve and system and still be subluxated? And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. It's totally possible. Because what you have to understand is it's just like dental hygiene. When that ship leaves out to sea, right, there's never a port that it's really reaching related to your dental hygiene. Meaning, when you start brushing your teeth and you start flossing, there's no like finishing point. I mean, there is, but you're not going to like the answer to this. You're 6 feet under, right? So when you're flossing and brushing, the idea is that we're doing things preventatively so our teeth can be functional. They can express their life potential and their innate potential, and they can do what they need to do from a functional standpoint to allow us to break down foods, to allow us to eat, and to allow our whole process of assimilation in our body to occur with food. But we don't really think, well, what happens after that? And what's our brain doing to the rest of our body? We don't think about the segment of our nerves that, a huge majority of our nervous system is kind of supplied by motor neurons. A huge majority of our nervous system is supplied by the autonomic part of the nervous system, which means the things we don't have to think about. And then there's only a small part of the nervous system that deals with pain. So true health equals true function. It's not really about pain. It's not how we feel or look, but it's about how our body's functioning. And so I thought it was important to touch on that real briefly, but then kind of move into how is your how is your supplementation becoming like a medication? How is your supplementation becoming like a medication? Because sometimes people, they do so many different things related to their health that they don't actually have a metric to really identify or see what's actually working. They're not doing anything pre and post, or they throw a bunch of things into the mixer at once, and they don't really, they're trying to see what sticks to the wall, but they don't really know what's working and what's not. And so a supplement can be just like a medication if the intent is to fix or alter from an outside in perspective what the body's doing, what the intelligence in the body is doing. So if we're just taking supplements and the idea is that it's like a Band-Aid to fix what's going on, and that's supposed to manipulate our system and correct our system's dysfunction, and that's the only reason why we're taking it or the only reason why we're eating good food, then we've kind of missed the buck on that, haven't we? Because I always use the analogy that you can have a car, but if all the inner wiring to that car or the electrical signals or the computer system in the car isn't working, and you put premium rocket fuel in that car, that's not a Maserati, it's still a Pinto. And that's what I want you to understand about your nervous system as it pertains to supplementation or organic food. Am I saying those are not like amazing, awesome things that are good for your health? No, I'm saying they absolutely are. But if your nervous system is dysfunctional, it's subluxated, and there's interference in that system, you can eat all the organic food you want, you can take all the whole food supplements that you want, and your body's not going to be able to integrate or assimilate that. So you're not a Maserati, you're still a Pinto. And I really want to drive that point home. Because sometimes what a lot of patients and laypersons or multi-level marketing companies will do is they're taking this advice from people that maybe had a good result, but they're not asking the right questions. What are the good questions? Well, they're, why am I taking what I'm taking? Is that the only thing I did while I was trying to heal? And is my physiology the same as someone else's? Is my physiology exactly the same? And the answer to that question is, you got to know what it is you're doing and how many things you're doing, and you got to understand that anything that causes stress or dysfunction in the body is always going to go back or stem from chemical, physical, emotional imbalances in the body. And all that comes from a lack of health in the body, which is created by nerve interference. Because your brain and spinal cord, I'm constantly educating the community on this. It doesn't just control some things, it's going to control all things. Every single thing that you have in your body, anything going on, any symptomatology. Symptoms are just a product of a diagnosis or a lack of health in the body. A diagnosis is just a name. So it classifies people to put people in a victim mentality instead of putting them into a victor mentality. And we want to reframe that conversation. If I know where your body, if I know you have atherosclerosis in your body, that just means you have a hardening of the arteries. Or even cancer. That's a diagnosis to tell you the body's in a state of disease. But what caused that atherosclerosis? What caused that cancer or that disease? Or that multiple sclerosis? Or the migraines you're having? Or the dysfunction or the liver issues? Or the diabetes that you have going on? It was from chemical, physical, emotional stresses over a period of time where if you think of health as a bucket, your body got to the point that it was in crisis, it couldn't take it anymore. And now, over that whole period of time that you're enduring all these stresses to your system, do you think there's any way that the nervous system as a whole, the brain, was communicating life through the body at 100%? No way. And when did that start? Oh, it started 2 weeks ago, Doc, when I started having this lower back pain and I was pulling a tulip out of my yard. No, you silly rascal. It started the day that you were born and you were pulled out and you were wrenched and you were rotated. It started when you started falling as a little baby. It started with the 5 accidents you had. It started with the falls and the bangs from the sports injuries you had. That causes subluxation. But what about emotional stress? What about being abused as a child or a kid? What if you're in an abusive relationship right now where somebody's controlling you? Maybe they're controlling your phone. They're controlling whether you communicate with your family members or not. Maybe they've got an emotional hold on you. What about chemical stress? What about medications we're on? I get people all the time, they're on a medication 20 or 30 years, and that medication is removing them from the intelligence in their body. Because what happens is the medication from the outside comes in and it starts to do what the body was innately designed to do. So what does the body do? Does it remember how to correct the problem on its own, or does it forget it? It starts to forget. It starts to not produce the natural chemicals and neurotransmitters and cells that would create healing within the body, or that would allow the blood pressure in the body to normalize, or the dopamine and serotonin levels to normalize, that would create a normal, healthy, happy person, and not one that is depressed and anxious. So I just thought it was really important to have this conversation, because I know sometimes we get a little subluxated in our thinking about what it is that actually creates healing. And healing comes from within. It does. It comes from the intelligence in your body working correctly. And the only way that you can get that intelligence to flow above, down, inside, and out is to have a functioning, working nervous system. And you can only do that with a trained, professional, principled chiropractor. That's the only way it'll happen. So as holistic neurological chiropractors, what we want to do is we correct, remove subluxations in the body, and we connect people back to life, and we create transformations. So I always share with people, it's not just about a health change in my office, it's about a life change. It's about a life change. It's about you becoming a perfect version of yourself, or the best possible person you can be. And you can only do that with a functional, working nervous system. Do we do some nutrition on people? We absolutely do. Do we do emotional techniques on people? We absolutely do. Do we do curve correction on people? Yes, we do a bunch of different techniques. But what's the most important thing that we do? We allow the brainstem to communicate life down the spinal cord and have those nerves access and assimilate that information to the organs as close to 100% as that person's system will allow. That's what we do. That's the number one thing we do. So if you haven't been checked, or you haven't had your family members checked, or maybe you're a practice member here, right? And you haven't really understood what to say to a family member or person, or how to get them checked, well, I got a perfect opportunity for you. 7 o'clock this Wednesday, the 14th of March, we're going to have a group of people here, and we're going to be talking about functional neurological stretching and its impact on the nervous system, how that creates dysfunction and disease in the body, and how to correct that and remove those subluxations. And this is going to be a lifestyle workshop to teach you what you need to do at home. Bring a friend, bring a family member. Food will be here about 6:40 p.m. It'll be catered. And our good friends from O Juice are going to be coming as well to do a juice tasting that night. Okay, so we're going to be doing a bunch of lifestyle stuff that night. We're going to talk about subluxation for a little while, and we want to bless you and your family with a free exam. So if you heard about this talk, come one, come all. All you got to do is come to that talk, and what we'll do afterwards, we'll schedule you for that free $150 exam. That's going to be waived, and it's going to be on me, okay? So God bless you. Have a great day, and God bless you and your family. Take care.